the theory goes that the caller's opponent would not want to bet fold here a value hand on the flop. So any type of hand that would sort of lean it towards not
100 effective with villain number 1 in middle position. I didn't put the V2s stacked because I actually wasn't paying attention much because I thought the hand was going to go really differently than it did. But he's 1800 effective with me.
And so, I mean, so we just on the show, I don't have the email up. We just walk us through it. So, all right. So 2-5. Yeah.
Yep. 3100 with villain 1 in middle position and 1800 effective with villain 2 on the button.
So 3100 MP1, button has 1800, and I assume you cover, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And I have 2 black queens in the cutoff.
So it gets folded to you?
Yep.
Well, we said 3100 for
no,
MP1.
middle position opens, and then it folds to me in the cutoff.
So he opens to what?
He opens for 35, which is about standard at the table.
Okay. So if anybody, I mean, I'm not picking on you. If anyone, when you do submit to your hand, obviously, like I read them to pick the best ones, but I don't like have the emails up. Sorry. I pulled up my notes now. So no worries.
I got it now.
So MP1 opens to 35, hero with black queens in the cutoff, and you 3-bet to
165.
Okay.
Player on the button then decides that he's going to 4-bet, kind of on the small side, pretty much a min raise on my part. He raises a 375.
Okay.
V1, who is who's in middle position, flats. And this was probably my biggest question about the hand because I was seriously consider 5-betting with the dynamic that was going on at the table.
Uh-huh.
But I thought that might have been an overplay on my part, so I wound up flatting as well.
So somebody in the chat brings up a good point. So is this a straddled pot? Is it 2-5-10?
Yeah, it's straddled.
That makes a lot more sense to 35. All right, so it's 2-5-10. So the guy opens to 35 from MP1. Hero 3-bets to 165 on the cutoff. The button, who is playing 1800 effective, so it's like 180 big blinds, 4-bets to 375. MP1 calls, and if you're even thinking that the dynamic exists where this guy could be light, I mean, I would seriously consider 5-betted and getting it in here. I mean, it's.
I'm honestly still kicking myself over the decision because it was definitely the dynamic for me to be 5-betting here because they had been at each other's throat for hours.
I mean, you're sort of in between though, but
yeah. I was trying to isolate the middle position player and not the button.
The mid position player?
Yeah, when I 3-bet, I was hoping the button was going to get out of the way.
So it sounds to me like you called.
Yeah, I flatted instead of 5-betting, and that's what I wanted your opinion on. I definitely think I should have 5-bet there.
Well, like I said, if you're even thinking about that particular scenario, then fine. I mean, someone's saying fold, 5-bet or fold. I don't know, it's 110
I don't
more.
see how I fold.
That's pretty nitty.
I don't see how I fold here.
So the pot's so it's 375 times 3, so what, like 1150 or something like that?
Yeah, I had it at 1140.
1140. Okay, so 4-bet pot, 3 ways, and just over 1 pot size bet left, effective with the button because he put in 375. It probably has like 1400 left, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So flop comes king of diamonds,
Mm-hmm.
jack of hearts, and 10 of clubs.
King of diamonds, jack of hearts, 10 of clubs. So you're open-ended.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So checks over to the button because I was kind of just going to let this guy fire off because he was on monkey tilt.
Uh-huh.
He leaves out for 300.
Okay.
Which was a little weird. And what was even weirder is the button or the middle position player tank folds after he tanked for like 45 seconds. He literally had nothing.
And you call.
And yeah, I flat.
Again, when I look at this situation, and we can definitely out-level ourselves because I don't know anything about this button, but if you were to look at sort of, if you put a really good player on the button, or I'll tell you how I would play this specific sort of board, I mean, this has got to be scary for like ace, king, or aces here.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't, he's betting 300, which is kind of a small sizing. And, it's interesting because, like, what is he betting here? Obviously, king probably is going to bet.
Yeah, I didn't really
Jack,
see
Jack.
him. Yeah, I kind of put him on maybe a Jack type of hand, maybe tens, but I wasn't completely sure, so that's why I just flatted, because I wasn't really sure. Maybe at worst what he would have, like, would he have ace king here betting out like that?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, like, you don't want to, yeah, I mean, there really isn't anything for you to do but call, unless maybe you saw the guy's hand and knew that he was the type of player that would bet fold like aces or ace king here, but that's a huge assumption. So 600 into 1140 the pot, or 300 a call, 1140 plus 600, 1740. And the guy probably only has like 1200 or so left now, right?
Yeah, right around there. I think he had like 13 or 14. I didn't get an exact count on his chips. It was somewhere between 17 and 1800. He might have had a little more than that, but it was right around there.
Yep.
Definitely less than 2K.
So, by the way, he could have ace queen too, right? I mean, he could have ace queen too. He's got the nuts. I mean, those are all.
Yeah, well, I figured since I was double blocking it, it was unlikely, but yeah.
I mean, there's less combos of it, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So turn comes out. It's kind of a weird card for me. It's the Queen of Diamonds on a rainbow board.
So it's a one-liner out here to an ace. By the way, some people grumbling in the chat. Again, this actually will demonstrate, and I believe this would be the case even in a 4-bet pat. The theory goes that the caller's opponent would not want to bet fold here a value hand on the flop. So any type of hand that would sort of lean it towards not wanting to call a raise would be a check back, which is kind of what I was getting at. So people saying check rip it. Okay. And that's going to make the assumption that this guy doesn't, that he's going against the theory, which might, possibly be a thing. I'm just saying that, if you get up to the high level. So this is an interesting turn card here because it puts a one-liner out there to a straight with an ace. And again, the question is, how much ace X does he have here on the flop betting besides maybe ace queen? But maybe he was betting aces or ace king. You now beat pocket jacks and pocket tens, which is good, but I don't think there's really anything for you to really do here. Probably butt check, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't, especially with the one-liner out, because I mean, he's got all kinds of maybe ace king would be light to bet the flop, but I just think he has at minimum ace king after betting, and then again, he took some weird lines the entire night, so I was kind of stuck here. So I definitely did just wind up checking, and he winds up betting 650 now, leaving him probably like 600 behind, 600 or 700 behind.
Oh, maybe this was something different in the email. I thought he checked back on the turn. And
No.
Oh, okay. So hero checks and button bets 650.
Yep.
And he only has like 650 behind, basically?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's interesting here is that you get into like a sort of reverse pot odds CLP / thing where he's betting so small here on the turn. Let's just think through this right here, okay? I don't think he's betting a set here on the turn, okay? There's obviously only one set that beats you, right? King. So this is a little bit of Fifth Street Chicken / reverse pot odds type of thing. So if he doesn't have king here, he's betting an ace, or he's just got some airball. But let's just give him all the aces, right? If he's betting 650 into, like, we'll call it like 1750. The pot is going to be like 2,400, 650 for you to call. You're getting almost the right price right now. If he has, ace, you have basically like 10 outs, right? With 44 unseen cards, you need about you've got one chance and 4.4. You only need 3.4 to 1 in direct odds to call. You're getting that. If he has like ace king, then you've got one less out. Still 4 to 1, you would only need, you're almost there. And then the point that I'm going to make here though is that when it gets close like this, if you call, the pot's going to be 3,000. He's only going to have 650 left. Like, I think that's a free 650 at the end that you would get. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, you're going to bet 650 on the river into 3,000. He's going to fold, getting like 5 or 6 to 1. So sometimes in these very, very close threshold spots where you're getting almost the immediate price, it can be a good thing because the guy's always going to call. It's different like if he just jams here. And jamming might really be the right play for this guy if he only has 11 or 12 left. If he's going to call off the 650 no matter what comes, he should really be jamming here on the turn, I think.
That was my exact thoughts, which is kind of what made me think to myself for a minute. I thought of it was either shove or fold.
I don't think it's shove or fold. About it.
Oh, you think never fold here?
No, I said I don't think it's shove or fold.
You don't think so?
How can you fold?
Well, the main reason why I thought of folding was, one, if I call, the way he played is I didn't see him bluffing here. I mean, at worst, if he has an ace, there's a one-liner.
Well, let me interrupt you for a second, caller. Here's the worst case scenario for you is if he is bluffing. Let me lay out the worst case scenario for you is that if you check call here, the river's a brick, and you check fold at the end and he's bluffing. That's the worst case scenario. If he's never bluffing, that's great because he has an ace. Isn't that what we want? You're getting the direct price.
Yeah, because obviously boat up.
Yeah, I mean, the really, really, really disastrous situations when you play a hand in a manner sort of like this, what I'm speaking about, the Fifth Street chicken and almost getting the right price, is when the guy actually doesn't have it and you fold at the end. But that doesn't seem like that's really even possible here,
Yeah, well, and that was kind of my point where I said all in or fold, because if I call this turn bet, I'm never folding the river with only 650 behind, 700 behind. I don't care if I don't care what card it is. I'm not folding the river.
You're never gonna fold the river. If the river's a brick.
If I'm just calling the turn, that's why I was saying if I call this turn bet, I'm not folding the river for 650 more when the pot's 3,000.
Well, let me ask you this question: why not? Why can't you fold the river just because you're saying, because of pot odds? Because if you played an ace this way, and you very well might have a bunch of aces, let's say you flopped ace queen or you had ace king. Like if I had ace king and I check called here and I check the turn and the guy bet, I'd probably play it. Why would I check jam turn really if I thought that maybe once in a great while my villain would bluff? The reason why I'm saying that is that you have to have some ace X here too. So like if he jams at the end, like it's just, he almost always has an ace, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's what my thinking was. If I did have an ace here though, I have the nuts on the turn, I'm probably just going to ship it anyway, or I'm just going to let him ship it on the river.
Right. So what I'm saying is that if you take that second line, which I think you probably should play it passively with ace X, if you have queen here, which you do, right? And let's say you call and then the river's a brick and you check and he ships anyways, why can't you fold in that spot if you're going to have a bunch of ace X in other scenarios?
Yeah. Right. No, I definitely agree. I guess the biggest part of this was like, if I call this and the river bricks out for me, my thought process was I'm still up on the night. So I was kind of like, if I have to fold the river for his jam, then I might. But I didn't really see it happening, though, to be 100% honest. Like, if I decided to call the turn, I think I'd have to call the river in my exact position and how the hand played out.
Well,
especially against the button who was kind of tilting.
I mean,
But the
here's,
problem is,
I mean, I don't want to go
he
down
has
to
all
here.
the aces.
I mean, that changes things a little bit. Like if you're saying, I don't agree with you, if you're saying you're going to call the turn and you have to call the river, it might change the lineup a little bit where you might want to just check, call, because if that's the case, then you're playing a bluff catching game. And even if the board pairs at the end, you're trying to induce a bluff. I hate that shit though, because he's going to have a lot of ace X and it's a disaster when he checks it back, right? If you get a board pair and you check to him and he checks back ace X, but now you're saying like on the turn, you're playing kind of a bluff catcher game if you're going to call the river. That's why I don't agree with you. But okay, so do you call here?
No, yeah, no,
yeah.
No, yeah, I flatted. I wound up flatted. I talked myself into a flat instead of a jam or a fold, obviously.
So now the pot's maybe 3,100, right? And he's got like 650 or 700 left, right?
Yep, 30, 40, and he's got, somewhere between 7 and 800.
Okay, yep.
And the river does pair the board with the jack of spades.
I mean, you have to upshove. I mean, here's the thing. Well, I don't. If you're playing it like a bluff catcher, then I guess the play would be to check when you run, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. What I would do is I would have check called the turn with the intention of moving in on board pairing rivers, because I don't think the guy's going to fold for 650, and I don't want him to check behind with an ace. If you were going to call anyways, because you thought that there were some bluffs in his range, then it's probably close. But for me, I would just move all in here from up front.
And I did. Because I didn't want it to go check, or I didn't want it to go check that
right.
check obviously ever here.
Right.
So I jammed, and he beat me into the pot. Like he's like, I can't fold, the pot's 3,000. He went and hemmed and hawed for a little bit, and then he showed over pocket aces.
Oh, so you got paid off.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I just disagree with the fact that you have to call the end if you call the turn and the reverse break.
My only reasoning behind that was because if I'm calling half of what was in his stack on the turn when I feel like I'm beat right that second, if I feel like even on a non-board pairing river, if I'm gonna call thinking that I'm bluff catching him right now, I have to call the river for $650 more into a $3,000 pot.
But you're not calling the turn as a bluff catcher though. That's where, and again, this guy.
No. I didn't mean it like saying I was bluff catching, but I was saying if I'm going to call thinking that he possibly has an ace on the turn, then the river, if it's a non-pairing brick, I have to call if I think that he's going to shove with an ace on or bet on the turn with an ace, and I call it anyway.
We're a little bit lost here. If he has an ace all the time on the turn and you're check calling, this is the way that I would look at it for direct equity, because your hand has direct equity, and then it's a bonus if the board pairs and you think you're going to get paid off, like what happened, right, with an upfront shove and the board pairs. Then I don't understand why you can't check fold at the end, because when he bets at the end, he always has an ace. Like you're saying, like you're calling half of his stack off, but you have a hand that has direct equity to improve versus ace. You're getting a price. You're getting the correct pot odds. That's what I'm saying. It's a pot odds situation and an equity situation. It's an interesting hand because of the stack sizes. And obviously, like it's sort of like a crazy, when you think about it at the end, it's crazy because you're going to be getting like 5 or 6 to 1. But I'm just saying that, Mark, that's how I would be thinking about. That's how I'd be thinking about it.
So I get what you're saying. You're disagreeing me in the way that I'm essentially bluff catching on the turn, and you're saying it's a pot odds that I have to call.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bluff catch. I think it's more of you're just calling here because you have almost like a PLO hand. You have equity to make the hand. Now, what I was trying to say, and I think some people in the chat are misunderstanding, is that if you are trying to play it like you're going to call anyways on the river, if you're saying, I'm going to call anyways on the river, even if a brick comes, then you're playing it like a bluff catcher. And it could be, you could make a case for checking at the end because you think that the guy is bluffing, but I don't think that's really the way that we should look at this hand. I think it's a direct pot odds, direct drawing. I'm going to make my hand and get paid off, which you did.
You're saying theoretically it should always be a call due to pot odds.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. It's not it's easy theory. You know what I mean? It's just straight math.
No, yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for the call.